Was killed by a fellow student at a Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin, where 6 other students were injured, including 2 students with life-threatening injuries.
I hoped that this day would never come in Madison.
Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway moments ago.
And so I will ask our entire community and our entire country to do whatever we can to make sure that no public official ever has to stand in this position again.
There's no word on any potential motive. Police say a handgun was recovered at the scene and that the shooting was confined to one space. TikTok is asking the U.S. Supreme Court for emergency intervention to block a federal law that would ban the social media platform in the U.S. unless its Chinese parent company agrees to divest. The company is arguing in part that the incoming Trump administration should have time to review the issue. The president-elect once supported a ban, but pledged during the campaign to save TikTok. The president-elect is among those skeptical about the federal government's response to drone sightings.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage.
Suggesting the president also knows and that they should tell the public more. Fox's Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon.
Pentagon officials said these are not U.S. military drones, and there are limits to what the Pentagon can do legally unless the drones pose a threat. The Pentagon says 100 of these drone sightings are deemed credible enough to look into.
The Biden administration is sending federal resources to some of the affected areas as an FBI probe continues. The Trump Health Secretary nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just arriving on Capitol Hill to begin meetings with senators with concern about his vaccine positions among the many questions he's facing. On Wall Street, the Dow down 110 at the bell. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details. William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx save you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx users compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
A former FBI informant pleads guilty to lying about President Biden and his son Hunter accepting bribes.
Alexander Smirnov pleading guilty in a Los Angeles federal court to 4 federal charges, including in connection to fabricating statements. The 44-year-old admitting to lying to the FBI, providing false derogatory information, including that the head of the Ukrainian energy company Burisma told him he had paid both President Biden and his son Hunter Biden $5 million around 2015. The bogus claims leading to a House GOP probe of the Bidens. Smirnov also pleading guilty to unrelated tax evasion charges. He and prosecutors agreeing to a sentence between 4 and 6 years in prison when he's sentenced next month. He'll get credit for the time he's already served since his February arrest. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Former talk show host Carlos Watson is sentenced to nearly 10 years in prison in a federal financial conspiracy case involving his once buzzy Ozy Media, which was found guilty along with Watson last summer of charges including wire fraud conspiracy. Watson has denied the allegations and claims he's a target of selective prosecution. President Biden dedicates a new national monument to the first woman to lead a cabinet agency.
Frances Perkins was the first woman to serve as labor secretary and the longest-serving labor secretary.
In decades of service, she became a fierce defender of unions and workers' rights, an architect of the New Deal.
President Biden dedicated the Perkins homestead in Newcastle, Maine as a national monument to increase awareness of Perkins and other contributions by women. The Labor Department in Washington is housed in a building named for Frances Perkins. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Recapping Wall Street, a down day for the Dow, dropping 110, but a big rally for the NASDAQ to new record territory, closing up 247 points at more than 20,100. And Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for East Central Illinois, Champaign, and Van Avis. Saturday, it's the second in a string of 3 wet weather systems to come our way, and a very mild spell of weather that is underway. We'll show some cooling across the area tomorrow, and into Wednesday, more seasonal temperatures to follow after that. Another big warm-up maybe in sight approaching Christmas. No sign of a white Christmas anywhere across within a few hours drive for openers out of East Central Illinois. In the meantime, areas of fog and some locally dense fog and a dense fog advisory in effect. That mild weather continues into the early afternoon. Temperatures are to about 58, then slowly falling. Showers are back in this morning, a partly sunny, breezy afternoon. Down to 32 for tonight. Much cooler tomorrow, mostly sunny, but still 10 above average at 45. We'll bottom out with late night rain tomorrow night to about 36, and some rain is here for Wednesday morning. Partly sunny afternoon, turning colder, 43 and dropping. Partly cloudy, colder at 36 on Thursday, 35 on Friday. Highs into the low to mid 30s for the weekend. For Stevie J Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solgay.
You think football is still fun?
Yes.
Sir?
Yes, no.
No?
Sir, well, it was fun.
Not anymore, though, is it? Is it?
No, not right now.
No, it's not fun anymore, not even a little bit.
Bravo.
Hey!
Here comes
the one and only Jay Lame.
We talk about everything. If you guys want the real talk, you
here we go.
In this season, guys.
Altmaier caught, touchdown, Illinois!
If you win games, it takes care of everything.
Amen.
That's what I'm excited about.
Begging up the middle and ahead to the 15.
First and 10 for the Illini. Football is such an emotional game. The stakes are just higher.
Illinois upsets Maryland on homecoming.
You never know what's going to happen in a given game.
Lon got off the ledge. He's in the penthouse.
Come join me.
He's in the jacuzzi hanging out. He believes that this is the team. The opposite of last year. We are high on the hopium.
One other thing.
I love the war chant.
Do it. Do it.
Let's go!
Feed that in my system, Kyle. A little drum roll. Let's go. It is The Drive. Good morning, The Drive with Tay and Piper. No pipes today. Kyle Toss sitting in the hot seat. Jay Lehman, of course, right across from us as we do the best hour in radio. The Jay Lehman Hour. We'll get to all of his sponsors that make this possible, and we'll get to that as we go along. Of course, a chance to still win 10 games for Illinois, meaning a trip over to Long Branch.
Come on, baby. Long Branch Steakhouse. We win 10 games, me and Lon. First $1,000 on us.
Let's go. I've never been more excited to spend $500.
There we go. We just got to win that bowl game, right? We talked about that, too. We'll talk about the bowl game. We'll talk about the playoff, but there was a basketball game happening this weekend, right?
Derek Piper's going to be upset that he's not here, and yet you wanted to talk basketball.
Well, here's the deal, guys. Usually I give Pipes a hard time. It's more off the air, but sometimes on the air of like, hey, you just want to talk hoops all the time. It goes back to when Lauren Tate would come to every football practice when the media was involved with, could come to practices. Oh, yeah. They could show up. It was an open practice.
I remember those.
Right, so you know this. And what ended up happening is literally the night that basketball opened up with Midnight Madness or whatever it was, Lauren never showed up again. He was just like, we're a basketball school. If there was ever evidence that we were a basketball school. So I kind of have this thing that I was picked on, right? As a fellow Illini athlete, I was there the 2004-2005 team.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was at school then. We were like 1-11, 2-10. You talk about just the greatest Illinois basketball team, one of the worst Illinois football teams. You talk about taking a second fiddle or a third fiddle to women's volleyball and tennis at that point. We were like 10th fiddle. And so I'm very like, hey, we did win 9 games.
Of it.
But here's the deal. We had won against the number one team I saw in 1979, we beat Michigan State.
That's right.
In 2004 or 2004 it was Wake Forest.
That's right.
In 2013 it was Indiana.
Game. That's right.
And so we've done it 3 times.
And almost did it again.
Almost did it again. And so I'd love to talk about that. I'm no expert else. I kind of give the layman's version of the basketball. You get it? The layman's version?
I know, I get that. And I had Andrew had a game that night, so I had to go home and rewatch it late at night, knowing that we had lost. So that was not a fun rewatch for me, but I wanted to make sure I saw that game. And, it was just a deal where it was every classic example of having a chance to upset a team. Tennessee's in foul trouble. Neither team could make shots early. Right. Illinois got up. They got a lead in the second half, which they also had at Northwestern, of course, and dropped that game. So you kind of did everything you were supposed to do to upset the number one team, but credit to them, they made a great play at the end to get that game.
To me, it's still, the big play for me that was momentum was the inbounds pass they picked off.
Huge.
That to me was a momentum shifter. And again, so many times, like in football, but in basketball, it comes down to fundamental plays, getting the ball inbounds.
Amen.
And the one time they got inbounds, but it messed up the timing of the play, is that it go all the way back to Yakashonis. Other than KJ and Will Riley sometimes, you really struggle. Can we count on anybody to get a bucket? I really like is Vicic. Am I saying it right?
Tommy.
Yeah.
Good enough.
I've really liked him.
I do too.
He hasn't played great the last 2 games. Right. That hasn't been the focus. But I feel like, man, where's a big guy to go get a bucket for us? It feels like it just goes, okay, KJ, make something happen. I felt like that against Northwestern, where Northwestern had Martinelli or Barnheiser. Yep. You felt they had a bigger body to get in there. I just didn't feel like we had a guy just to go, got to go get that bucket.
Next Trey White assist will be the first of the year. Listen.
He's a gunner.
He'd get it in my hands, and I'm just, look out.
So you can watch basketball games. Like, you can go to a high school basketball game, and my dad used to tell them, tell you what's his shot. You can just see they want their shot, right?
You totally
or the guy that loves to hold the ball for the last 40 seconds to get one shot in a high school game for an 8-minute quarter. All that stuff is nonsense, but you can just tell. You can feel it. He wants his shot. Heat check coming up.
Now, Jay, you were a defender in football, so you appreciate good defense. In basketball, and Kyle, I'll throw this to you to let you comment on it. It seemed like in that Tennessee game, Illinois had about 4 or 5 possessions where they defended as well as you can, and then Tennessee gets a bucket late. That's got to be so frustrating when you have defended so hard for 25 seconds, and then all of a sudden they get a late bucket. I mean, that's frustrating, Kyle.
Yeah, defense was not the issue
at
all for Illinois. You think about how physical Tennessee plays. It felt like Illinois totally matched the physicality of the game on defense. But, yeah, Tennessee made like 2 or 3 threes down the stretch where it felt like Illinois had done everything right, and they just couldn't get that last step, too, and everything was jumbled.
They had some offensive boards, too.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
They had some boards. It's like, you have a lot of football analogies today, but it's like it's 3rd and 7. You stop the initial play. Quarterback breaks out outside the pocket. You're in scramble drill. Shoot, I got to figure out where my guy is.
Yep.
Now the receivers are doing whatever they want, trying to get open. He either throws it to a receiver for a first down or runs for a first down. That's what it felt like. You did everything right on that series, on that possession, yet they still kept finding a way.
That hurt.
They certainly weren't at their best.
No, I agree.
They weren't at their best.
A lot of foul trouble, too.
But a lot of foul trouble kept them out. But, man, what you could see is that they're just tough and physical.
I agree. Yeah,
and that kept them in it kind of when they needed it.
It's kind of a team that could be built for March, right, where they're not going to be out of any game. And as long as they're getting some offense, of course, they get the huge game. Was it Gainey? Is that his name?
Yes.
Who had just the monster game. Not that he can't, but I don't know that they were expecting that. But when their leading scorer fouled out, and then, of course, they had some foul trouble with Ziegler for a lot of that game as well. So it'll be interesting. Illinois can't hang their heads. That was pretty good battle. And, of course, we knew coming into this, especially the non-conference, was going to be loaded with really good teams. So what you're doing is, I'd rather have the win, but you're challenging this team to just continue to get better. And I'm sure if we bring it back to football, that's something that you guys had to do. Like you mentioned your bad year, but then you guys ended up ultimately having a great year. You just have to find ways to keep getting better.
And I think we're going to see this type of scheduling happen more with the playoff now, right? Because I think for a long time it was like, Tom Izzo, Michigan State, he schedules everybody and anybody, right? And then they would get in the tournament with 7, 8, 9 losses and then make a run
and then go to the Final Four.
And so it kind of rewarded you for so long, especially in the BCS days and even the 4-team playoff days. Sometimes you were penalized for losing a game like that.
Amen.
And it feels like you're not penalized now for that, although Shane Beamer for South Carolina said, well, why are we playing hard schedules if it doesn't matter?
I'm with you.
Because there wasn't one team with 3 losses in the playoff.
Right.
And I can see both sides because there was, hey, you lost 3 times. Shucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you can't make it. I can also see, why are we playing hard schedules if I can just have 2 losses?
Yeah,
why did I play a hard non-con?
I mean, Indiana's the perfect example, right? They are the poster child for just have a schedule that essentially has one tough game on it, and you can still make it into the playoffs as long as you don't have that hiccup. Which, let's be honest, teams like Illinois, Indiana, seems like they always have that hiccup game. Illinois had it with Minnesota.
We knew it was coming.
You did. Everybody did. I tried to fight it so bad, but everybody said, even Vegas, everybody, the analytics all said Minnesota's going to win this game, and I just could not make myself believe it.
Now, speaking of the hiccup game and Indiana being in, so Indiana has the hiccup game against Ohio State.
Right.
They're ranked below Ohio State, even though Ohio State has 2 losses and they beat Ohio State. Now, to Curt Cignetti's point, he said if our name were Michigan or Ohio State,
there's no doubt.